The Puck Portfolio with Andy MacNeil.
Hey, welcome to the Puck Portfolio. My name is Andy MacNeil. I'm your host. I'm here weekdays on the Canada Sports Betting YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcast, providing NHL projections, picks, betting advice, strategies, and more to help you make more informed bets throughout the NHL season. This show is sponsored by NorthStar Bets, available across Canada. They offer early odds on the next day's game, so check them out via the link in the description below. If you like this show, please like this video and subscribe to the Canada Sports Betting YouTube channel if you have not already. If you're new here, please stick around. You'll get a feel for what it's all about. But yeah, we've got a lot of hockey today. 14 games on the NHL schedule for Thursday. We covered a lot on Wednesday, of course. Only got one bet down though, and we're going to talk about why here in a little bit. Might have another one. We'll see. But yeah, I think I did a pretty good job, all things considered. Lots of hockey to handicap. Pretty good line prediction here. I mean, we saw the market makers open up later in the day yesterday, and everything pretty much matched what my model had. Not a lot of discrepancies, really none whatsoever outside of the Florida Panthers, which has moved a lot, around 5% closing or line value. Hate to say closing line value because the line hasn't closed. There's still plenty of time for somebody to come out and put a big bet down on the Canadians and move that thing in the other direction. But I don't think that's going to happen. Good play on the Florida Panthers at minus 192 on the money line. How you doing, Jake? I mean, I'm looking for your team to lose tonight. Of course, the Florida Panthers in action against the Montreal Canadiens. What did you think of the Canadiens' win over the Blue Jackets on Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean it's hard not to see them losing tonight. Two games in 2 nights against a team like Florida. But last night, there's some positives. I mean, like they're playing super sloppy. But I think Sam Montembeault, when he's in the net, kind of keeps them in games, and they're finding a way to beat teams that are kind of around them in the standings or a little bit lower than them in the standings. So they're keeping things interesting. Another great thing about last night's game, Cole Caulfield scored his 60th goal. He's the fifth Hab ever to score 60 goals before his 150th game. So that was kind of a cool milestone. Win or lose, that happened. So Habs fans
Yeah,
were celebrating that
some
last night.
pretty good company to be in. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, you got like Howie Moran's, Maurice Richard, Jean Beliveau. It's guys who were born in like the 30s. Nobody's done it in decades and decades, so it's pretty cool.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I grew up as a Boston Bruins fan, so deep hatred of the Montreal Canadiens. But my grandfather, my uncle, pretty much everybody on my mom's side, very much Montreal Canadiens fans. So I do have an appreciation of the history and whatnot. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Always loved the history just surrounding John Beliveau. He just seemed like a larger than life character. I mean, all of them did, Maurice Richard, etc. But Jean, especially Jean Beliveau. So I always appreciate the Canadians' history. And yeah, they've got a good young team here. But before we get into the schedule breakdown, you mentioned that Montreal is playing their second game in as many nights. That's a big reason why I thought the Panthers should be an even bigger favorite than they were on the sports books yesterday. But looking at their rolling expected goals percentage over the last little bit on 10 game blocks here, things don't look good for the Canadians. Things getting worse as the season rolls on. Meanwhile, the Panthers, they're just a wagon, right? They've been a steady team all season long. One of the best teams defensively. They've given up a bit of offense in order to accomplish that, but I think it's the right recipe, right? I mean, we saw how they were able to get through the 2023 playoffs. A lot of that had to do with their goaltending. Obviously, Sergei Bobrovsky played out of his mind, but I think they learned that they probably can't make another playoff run playing that way, right? And cheating and relying on their goaltender to have frankly an unsustainable save percentage. So just looking at the Panthers and how they've been playing over the last number of the last several weeks, pretty much since the season has begun, and you've got to consider that they were without Brandon Montour and of course Aaron Ekblad. So they've got both of those guys back in the lineup now. I just expect this team to continue rolling here, and their goaltending. It's good. It's Bobrovsky isn't an above average goaltender most nights, but he's just fine, right? And Stolarz is probably as good as him, at least in the regular season. And yeah, I don't think the Panthers. Obviously they're starting to catch it now. You look around, they're now minus 238 at NorthStar Bets. Yesterday, when we did the show on Wednesday, they were minus 192. So we picked that one off, let's just say. So it was the right pick. And like I said, if I was to come in here on Thursday, and look at the board, and things were, had changed a whole lot overnight, I would own it and I would say, look, I guess I didn't handicap things very well, but my lines, like I said, are pretty much mirroring what we're seeing at sports books right now. But yeah, one game I do want to talk about is the Winnipeg Jets and the Edmonton Oilers, because there's been a move. That is the one game that I've seen a pretty not a significant move, I guess, 10-15 cents um, toward the Edmonton Oilers. Now we can get the Jets at even money. Is that something I want to do? Yeah, probably. I think the Jets. I mean, if you can get them at even money, that's a good bet. But there are some people out there with influence, obviously, that like the Oilers, and maybe there's a second wave of steam coming later in the day. Gabriel Velarde is going to be a game time decision for the Jets, so that could help them out a little bit. The Jets, they've struggled on offense recently. You look at they haven't scored very many goals in the last handful of games. They're coming off a shutout loss to the Dallas Stars. They scored 2 goals against the Nashville Predators. They beat the Florida Panthers 3-0, but scored just 3 goals doing it. Scored 3 goals beating the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-2. So haven't scored more than 3 goals in their last 4 games. You look at them in the month of November, though, they're right behind the Oilers in terms of goals per 60. And I don't think they should be really knocked all that hard for having a little bit of a stretch here where they're struggling to generate some offense. I mean, the Dallas Stars, that's a team you'd expect to struggle against offensively. The Nashville Predators, I mean, if UC Saros is on his game, or even Kevin Lankinen for that matter, that's a team that you might expect to struggle against offensively. Same goes for the Florida Panthers. I just talked about the Florida Panthers. They've got good goaltending, and they're arguably one of the best. Not arguably, they are one of the top 5 defensive teams in the NHL right now, on the surface, underneath the surface, however you want to look at it, right? And the Tampa Bay Lightning, always a stingy team. That was before they got Vasilevsky back, but that even they've been kind of trending in the right direction lately, and they've been a stingy team all season long. So not all that surprising to me, anyway, to see the Jets struggle a little bit here on offense. And I'm okay fading the Oilers here. It's just I just wonder if there's not a better time, or there won't be a better time later in the day to fade the Oilers. Jake, sorry, I'm not watching the stream, but are the projections up on the screen right now? Okay, thanks. Yeah, sorry. Too much stuff going on. Can't look at my own face. But yeah, it's we are looking at a 10-cent difference between the line here, even money plus 100, and my line minus 109, 9 cent difference, I guess. But yeah, it's worth a 1 unit play to me. I just, like I said, I just wonder if there's not some late steam later in the day. But yeah, let's, you know what, let's lock it in. I'm gonna have a little conviction here that you know all of the Oilers' issues, like their goaltending, the lack of offense, from players that aren't superstars, uh, that's been priced in, and that this move is a little excessive. And I think that looking at the Jets, even money, even plus 105 out there, but let's lock them in at even money here, um, for 1 unit. Winnipeg Jets on the money line, even money to beat the Edmonton Oilers, 1 unit play. Add that to the Florida Panthers at minus 192 to beat the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, that one is no longer available. But as you can see, I've got the Jets as a small favorite, 52.1% chance of winning according to the projection model. But yeah, elsewhere, let's look at some news, see what we've got here. heading out in coming out now. Of course, lots of teams conducting their practices or finishing up their practices. Tristan Jarry, he's going to start for the Penguins. If we can pull up the Penguins rolling expected goals chart here, 10 game blocks from evolvinghockey.com. Pittsburgh, they've been a strong team. You want to look at their underlying metrics. They've been a strong team, but if you look at their last 10 games, let's just say 43.3, 47.4, 59, 47.4, 42.7, 57, 39.2, 50.5, 43.9, 67. Okay, there's a few really good numbers in there, but mostly 40s and a couple of low 50s. That's the Penguins 5-on-5 expected goals percentage over their last 10 games. So you ask why this team is still in the position that they're in. I think they're going to miss the playoffs 60% of the time. I see some other models, people I respect, like Dom Luszczyszyn of The Athletic, has them making the playoffs 60% of the time. MoneyPuck.com has them making the playoffs 70% of the time, last I looked. I've got the Penguins at around 39%. And I don't think that what we've seen out of this team lately is really being reflected. And then on the other side, you've got the Lightning, who are, like I said, starting to trend in the right direction. They started out really poorly this season. We all knew that they were going to have to change the way they played in order to kind of make up for the loss of Vasilevsky, and they did that, and that resulted in the team having some pretty poor underlying metrics. But things have been trending upward as of late, and so if you wonder why I'm maybe a bit higher on the Lightning than some people, because there is some edges showing around the market now on the Lightning, but minus 139 at NorthStar Bets, minus 130, minus 135 at several other places as well. So not necessarily an edge widely available, but some of the other some sports books have the Lightning a little bit shorter than where I have them. But yeah, I think the Lightning win this game more often than not, 57.4% of the time, according to the projection model. Should be a good one. I mean, it's a wild card race. The Lightning, they've got the second spot right now in the wild card. The Penguins, they're 4 points back of the wild card spot. No games in hand for either team, so it's a big game, and it's going to be interesting. You look at the Penguins; they've got a lot of good things going for them. Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin have been having good seasons, great seasons. Even Erik Karlsson has been as good offensively as he was last season. And I think you look around, they've got some other players like Brian Rust, etc., that have been having good years as well. Tristan Jarry even has had a good year, but not performing up to par to where their numbers are, or to where the aggregate numbers I think are kind of placing them. I don't think they're on the level that some people might think they're on. And if anything, I would play the Lightning here if this line moves in the direction of the Penguins and creates some value there. But no play as of right now. Just the two plays on Thursday: the Florida Panthers minus 192 on the money line, and the Winnipeg Jets at even money. Both 1 unit plays, 1 unit on the Winnipeg Jets to win 1 unit, and 1.92 units on the Florida Panthers to win 1 unit. Jake, you got any thing to say about today's big slate? I mean, outside of the expected loss of the Habitants.
No, not really. I think your takes have been spot on. There's not a ton of play here that I see, but yeah, I
What
mean
about Thursday night football though? Well, you got any play there?
it's another exciting day in football. Let me let me just quickly pull it up here, but yeah, I'm forgetting who my pick was for Thursday. I'll have to get back to you.
He got in hockey mode. He got in
Yeah,
hockey
yeah,
mode
I'm in
here,
hockey
folks.
brain right now.
I'll keep going here. Mackenzie Blackwood looks like he's going to start Thursday at Boston for the San Jose Sharks. Um, I mean, 1.9 goals saved above expected on the season. Uh, not bad for Mackenzie Blackwood. Not being talked about enough. Surprised he hasn't been in more involved in trade rumors. Maybe the Sharks are thinking about holding on to this goaltender for the rebuild for the long term. But he's been good for the Sharks and might give the Bruins a bit of a test tonight. But Boston, big favorites here on the money line, minus 476 at NorthStar Bets, plus 350 coming back on the other side for the San Jose Sharks. Mark Giordano is week to week. We talked about this a little bit on Wednesday. He is week to week with a broken finger. So that is a tough one for the Maple Leafs. And on the other side, the Seattle Kraken. So a small change to the projections for this game as Jaden Swartz is now ruled out for this one. Not quite sure. Can't remember the length on that one. We'll probably get to it in a minute here. Connor Hellebuck, he will start Thursday versus the Edmonton Oilers. 10-5-1 on the season, plus 4.6 goals saved above expected. And like I said, it looks like Gabe Vilardi will be a game time decision. Shabbat back in the lineup on Friday. We'll talk about the Friday games, just 2 games on Friday in a little bit here. But Shabbat back in the Sens lineup on Friday. And yeah, it is looking like Peter Mrazek will start Thursday at Detroit for the Chicago Blackhawks. Not a terrible season by any means, but not giving the Blackhawks a lift, that's for sure. Joseph Wall, he'll start Thursday versus Seattle for the Maple Leafs. Wall's had a pretty good season so far, 7.1 goals saved above expected. Kachekov, he's going to be likely starting versus the New York Islanders on Thursday. Not a great season so far for the young Carolina goaltender, but of course, a little bit tough, I guess, when you're not really sure where you're playing at most days, up and down, in the minors and whatnot. So that'll be something to watch there. But Carter Hart, he's going to be in goal on Thursday versus the New Jersey Devils for the Philadelphia Flyers. Overall, it's kind of struggled on the season, and you look at him in the last 3 games, he's 0-3, 886 save percentage. Not great by any means. So not exactly liking the Flyers today. I think there's been a little bit of love out there for the Flyers, given that the line has moved a little bit in that direction, um, but not here. Asked if Svechnikov would play tonight. Brendamore said, "I hope so." He said Svech may not be 100%, but he is sure that he'll try to play. The Hurricanes in action tonight, like I said, against the Islanders. So that is something to look out for. My projections has Svechnikov in here for the Hurricanes. And it sounds like, in all likelihood, he will play. We just might not get him at his best. But yeah, just the 2 plays. Like, I'm biding my time here. Friday, it's not going to be a very exciting day either with just 2 games. Biding my time here to hopefully find some big edges heading into Saturday and heading into the weekend. Not going to force it. Still, almost 1,000 games left to be played here in the NHL regular season. You're going to have days like this. You're going to have days where there are, 6 or 7 games on the docket, and you have 5 bets, and games where there are, 14 games on the schedule, and you've got 7 or 8 bets, and then days like this where there's 14 games on the card, and I've got 2 bets right now. And I might have had a bet on the Columbus Blue Jackets for Friday, as you can see there. The projection model has the Columbus Blue Jackets as a plus 120 underdog against the Senators on Friday, with Shabbat back in the lineup for the Ottawa Senators. The Columbus Blue Jackets, though, I would have had a play on them, and actually that was the plan heading into today. I was going to talk about it, lock it in here on the show, but just before we went live, Thomas Shabbat, that news came out that he would be back in the lineup on Friday, so that nullified that. And here we are with no plays on Friday, just 2 plays on Thursday. It is what it is. Not going to force anything. Going to have a big show on Friday because we've got a big weekend of hockey coming up, and I'm sure there will be more action to be had at that point. Anybody got any questions in the chat, Jake, or are we good here?
Yeah, Dr. Flush in the chat asking if you see the Blackhawks finishing with the most losses.
Dr. Flesh, you
Dr.
said?
Flush.
Flush. Okay, Dr. Flush.
Dr.
Okay,
Flesh
that's
would
better.
be a different chat.
Yeah, that would be a different chat. Different chat. I'm not sure which chat, could be a multitude of things, but yeah. So do I they're number two. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, so right now, updated projections, they will be updated at canadasportsbetting.ca shortly here, right after we wrap up the show. I am going to update that page. The San Jose Sharks, they've got a 59% chance of finishing with the worst record. Obviously, their work over the last 11 games has really helped that out. They were around at 90% to finish last at one point. 94% actually, I think it got up to. But yeah, you go 5-5-1 over an 11 game stretch, and that's going to make a big difference. The Blackhawks, they've got a 32% chance of finishing with the last place. So yeah, well over 90% of the time, you're going to see the Blackhawks or the Sharks finish in last place. Um, of course, you've got teams like the Canadians still in the running, but yeah, it's the I just had to throw that in there for Jake, but it's the Chicago Blackhawks at 32%. So not sure what we're seeing out there. NorthStar Bets actually just not. I was looking at that this morning. They do not have odds on finishing last place or odds for the President's Trophy. But let's talk about that a little bit here as well, since I do have the projections up. President's Trophy, 24% New York Rangers. That's what the projection model says today. They've got a 24% chance after last night's win over the Detroit Red Wings of finishing with the most points. And after that, it's the Colorado Avalanche at 20%. And after last night's loss to the Washington Capitals, a regulation loss, haven't seen that happen very often with the Los Angeles Kings this season. The LA Kings a 17% chance of finishing with the most points. Dallas 10%, Boston 10%, Carolina 6%. Of course, Carolina getting off to a kind of a rocky start that definitely hurt their President's Trophy chances. And Florida at 4%. Then we've got Vegas 3%, Vancouver 2%, Winnipeg 2%, Toronto 1%. And after that, it's all teams that are below 1% after that. So yeah, it's the starting to take shape here, the NHL season. Division favorites, New York Rangers, 70% chance to win the division, according to the projection model. Colorado, 57% chance of winning the Central Division, according to the model. The LA Kings, a 64% chance of winning the Pacific Division. So the model very bullish on the Kings here. Thinks they're the best team in the Pacific Division, and I guess arguably the best team in the Western Conference, right next to Colorado. Dallas, 33% chance of catching up and beating the Avalanche for that Pacific or Central Division crown. Sorry. And then the Boston Bruins, they were up around in the 70% range as far as their chances of winning the Atlantic Division, but now down to 50%. So things kind of sinking for the Bruins. And if you look at their stats as of late, you can kind of see why. So important that they get a big win against the San Jose Sharks on Thursday. But I don't care about that. I only care about the Florida Panthers absolutely crushing the Montreal Canadiens. Hopefully, I got a buddy that's actually traveling up from Halifax, Hammonds Plains, the home of Brad Marchand, to Montreal to see this game. And I hope that he has an absolutely miserable time. I'm sure the drinks will be flowing and all that stuff, but I hope that the Canadians get the crap kicked out of them. Let's just say that. And as well, the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, I'm not looking for a blowout here. It would be nice, but I'm looking for a solid offensive performance from the Winnipeg Jets against an Edmonton team that um, I think was priced correctly, but now is priced too high. But yeah, if you haven't already, please like the video. I'm sure we'll have more picks for the weekend on tomorrow's show. Of course, Saturday, Sunday coming up hot. Lots of games to talk about, and I'm going to spend most of the day looking ahead to Saturday. So I'll definitely get prepared for tomorrow's show. Have lots of betting insights to share. We'll be back with a big show at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time right here on the Canada Sports Betting YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you have not already. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow.